Hi all, welcome to PowerShell for Penetration Testers at Pentester Academy. In this video, we continue our discussion on PowerShell remoting, and let's have a look at some of the advanced features in PowerShell remoting. First, we saw that we can use enter PS session to connect to a remote machine and run commands, but that was one-to-one remoting. And we saw invoke command, which could be used to execute commands and scripts on multiple machines. But invoke command was not stateful. That is, we cannot run commands which save their state on the local machine. For example, if we run invoke command on a remote machine, and now we want to use the results of this command here. Let's just print procs. And now if we want to use the results, we saw nothing because these two commands ran independently without any state. This could be solved with the help of the new PS session commandlet. We can create a PS session let's store it in a variable called SAS. And now let's execute this command again. And this again. Note that we are not specifying a computer name now. As you can see that we were able to use the results from this command in this command, and that is because of this session which we created here. So this method allows us to run stateful commands or commandlets or scripts using the invoke command commandlet. Now let's have a look at implicit remoting. What we are doing up to now is the explicit remoting. That is, we explicitly call a remoting commandlet and use it to execute stuff on remote machines. PowerShell allows us to create proxy functions for implicit remoting. For example, we have this session to a remote machine here. Now let's create a simple function on the remote machine which shows some basic info. Now, using explicit remoting, we can call this function this way. But we can also use implicit remoting, and for that we need the import ps session commandlet, which allows us to create proxy functions from a ps session. So let's import get sysinfo from the session ses, which we have been using. As you can see that now there is an exported command and we can use it like a local function, and its life remains for the current PowerShell session. We will not go into details of how this works. If you want, there are plenty of TechNet articles which could be read. Now, another interesting thing to see here is, we can use export ps session to export this command to a module. We can use, let's call it domain module, and let's export the command get sysinfo, and the session would be ses. As you can see that we got a warning because get sysinfo is already present on our machine because of this thing. Let's overwrite it. Now, an interesting thing is we got a module exported in the ps module path. Here, 3 files have been created: a script module, a XML, and a PSD1 file. Sorry. Now, as an exercise, and if you are really in a mood to read complex PowerShell code, go through this. This would be really educating, but you do need patience and PowerShell skills to completely understand this. That's a pretty complex piece of code. So we saw that we can not only create proxy functions, we can also export them into a module for later use. As an exercise, again, you can read these exported files if you want. So that is all for this video. Hope you enjoyed this. If you are enjoying your time at Pentester Academy, please do recommend us to your friends and colleagues in the information security community.